Hi, and welcome to another set of photo tips from the Man Shed. My name is Simon Walden from filmphotoacademy.com, and today I'm going to be talking about apertures. But before I do that, I've had a couple of comments from previous video blogs. What is the Film Photo Academy? It's very simple. It's a place to go learn about photography. The principal thing is the blog, where there's loads of stuff going on. I'm always putting new stuff on the blog, just hints, tips, things I've seen, examples of shoots, just fun stuff, other links out to elsewhere to go learn more about the world of photography. And I've also had a couple of comments about the Man Shed again. The whole point about these is it's just me sitting in my shed, away from everybody, thinking about stuff that I do. The whole point of the videos is that they're sweet and simple and I get them done. If I was going to edit these, it'd never happen. Okay, so that's the background stuff done. What was I going to talk? Oh yeah, apertures, right. So one of the things that filmphotoacademy.com does, or I do if you like, is training and workshops and mentoring and so on. And a question came up the other day is why is f11 the preferred f-stop for aperture? I thought, well, actually, I thought everybody knew that, but evidently people don't. So I just want to talk a little bit about f-stops, why you want to use them in different ways, and why f11. So let me just zoom in a bit here. The first thing about the whole f-stops and aperture thing is that it is basically it's a sort of a bit of add salt to taste kind of thing, and different photographers will have different favourite f-stops. And particularly it's about, as the wider you go, that's the lower the number, then the shorter, the narrower your depth of field, and the more that the background is pushed out of focus, creating what's known as bokeh. That's B-O-K-E-H. Everybody wonders how to say it. It's bokeh, trust me. Anyway, so the thing about that is, the whole point of that is that a very low aperture, a very small numbered aperture, you're going to have a very narrow depth of field. And let me just give you a couple of examples. At f11 on an 80mm lens at 4 feet, that's about the distance from me to this camera, the focal range is about 5 inches. So about 5 inches of the image is going to be sharp and in focus. So that's your mid spot, your f11. If I go down to f1.6 on that same 80mm lens at 4 feet, then my focal length is now only about an inch. So it's a really shallow, that's kind of barely the depth of my nose. So when you're out on locational work and stuff like that, then the lower f-stops are really great for throwing the background out of focus. So you get that lovely sort of softness, that pleasing lack of definition behind you. Now in studio work, that's usually less of a requirement because more often you're working on plain backdrops, of course. Now on the other hand, let's say you're shooting family wedding, the large family formal group shot at a wedding. And at that point, you may want to go to f22 or whatever your lens will go to as narrow as possible, because that's going to give you the greatest depth of field. And the whole point is you want to try and make sure everybody is sharp from the front of the group to the back of the group. And again, just to give you some numbers, an f22 on a 50mm lens at 10 yards, 30 feet, and that's 9 meters in European, that gives you about a 20-foot depth of field. So that's plenty of depth of field to make sure everybody's sharp from the front of the group to the back of the group. Well, that still doesn't quite explain why f11. Well, it's sort of a bit of history really. Back in the days when lenses were much cruder, then your maximum lens sharpness tend to be in the middle of the aperture range of the lens. Now that's still broadly speaking true, but lenses are so much better. But nevertheless, if you want a really sharp, crisp image, then f11 is probably going to be about your sharpest point. Now you can demonstrate that to yourself. Put your camera in auto mode and just wander around pointing at different shady spots, bright shots in the viewfinder. And what you'll see is that the camera's trying to keep about an f11, f16 aperture, and it's adjusting the shutter speed up and down to compensate for the brightness and the darkness. So what that tells you is that the manufacturer also sees that f11, f16 as kind of being the sweet spot of your lens. Just at a sort of point of interest, that's also f11 is kind of pretty much what I shoot at in the studio as well, somewhere between f8, f11 thereabouts, because it's enough to get a face in focus for me, but keep everything soft in the background. Now here's the thing though, when push comes to shove, the depth of field is pretty much the key aesthetic, artistic control you have over your image. If you shoot this, I don't know if this is a Logitech quick camera, it probably is shooting it on a kind of desperately narrow angle to try and keep as much in focus as possible. But if I wanted this background to be all nice and soft, then then I'd go for that 1.6, that 1.2 even, just to give me a really tight depth of field. Or maybe you've seen those pictures where just little eyelashes are in focus and the rest of it is drifted off nicely. So, in other words, that's your aesthetic control, that's your artistic control. Most times your shutter speed really doesn't enter into it. So, that's how come f11. As ever, there is loads more info on filmphotoacademy.com. That's the website and the blog. We're always welcome to see you there. Always happy to see comments posted on the blogs, by the way, as well. That's always terrific. It's always nice to get some really good feedback. Okay, so this blog's joke. Oh, yeah. Before I do that, I've got some really terrific news. I've got a job with the BBC. We're going to direct a movie about hijackings. And we're off to shoot the pilot tomorrow. Good night.